Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Narayanam Namaskritya Naram Chaiva Narottamam Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Tato Jayamudiriye Nashtaprayeshu Bhadreshu Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya Bhagavati Uttam Shloke Bhaktir Bhavati Naistiki. So continuing with our discussion on Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 10, today we're starting new chapter, chapter 61. Lord Balram slays Rukmi. Rukmi was a brother of Rukmini, and it was killed by Lord Balram. Let's see what happened. Shri Shukavacha Eke Kashasta Krishnasya Putran Dashabala Ajijan Anam Navamana Pitu Sarvatma Sampada. Shukdev Goswami said, each of Lord Krishna's wives gave birth to 10 sons, who were not less than their father, having all his personal opulence. So Lord Krishna had 16,108 wives, and thus this verse indicates that the Lord begot 161,080 sons. That's a big family. Come. Grihadan Pagam Vikshya Rajputri Achutam Sitam Preshtam Nyaman Satsvam Svam Na Tattva Vid Striyaha. Because each of these princesses saw that Lord Achyuta never left her palace, each thought herself the Lord's favorite. These women did not understand the full truth about him. Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur notes that Lord Krishna would leave the palaces only with the permission of his wives, and thus each one considered herself his favorite. This is how he deals with his devotees. Charvabja Koshu Vadan Nayat Bahunetra Saprem Hasaras Vikshit Valgujalpeh Samohita Bhagavato Namano Vijetum Sver Vibhrame Samshakan Vanita Vibhumna. The Supreme Lord's wives were fully enchanted by his lovely lotus-like face, his long arms and large eyes, his loving glances imbued with laughter, and his charming talks with them. But with all their charms, these ladies could not conquer the mind of the all-powerful Lord. The previous verses stated that Lord Krishna's queens could not understand the truth of the Lord. This truth is explained in the present verse. The Lord is all-powerful, full in himself with infinite opulence. Smayavaloka lokal vadarshit bhavahari bhrumandal prahit sorat mantra shonde patnyastu shodash sahasram ananga baner yasendriyam vimuthi tum karaner na shekuhu. The arched eyebrows of these 16,000 queens enchantingly expressed those ladies' secret intentions through coyly smiling sidelong glances. Thus their eyebrows boldly sent forth conjugal messages. Yet, even with these arrows of Cupid and with other means as well, they could not agitate Lord Krishna's senses. Although he remained with all the queens all the time, but still they could not agitate his senses. Itham Rama Patim Avapya Patim Striyasta Brahmadayo Api Navidu Padavim Yadiyam Bhejur Muda Virat Medhitya Nuraga Hasavalokana Vasangam Lal Sadhyam. Thus these women obtained as their husband the master of the goddess of fortune. Although even great demigods like Brahma do not know how to approach him with ever-increasing pleasure, they felt loving attraction for him, exchanged smiling glances with him, eagerly anticipated associating with him in ever-fresh intimacy, and enjoyed in many other ways. This text describes the intense conjugal attraction the queens felt for Lord Krishna. प्रत्युगमासन वराहरण पादशोच तांबूल विश्रमण वीजन गंध माल्य केश प्रसार शयन स्नपनोपहार्य दासी शत अपि विभोर विदधूस्म दास्यम. Although the Supreme Lord's queens each had hundreds of maidservants, they chose to personally serve the Lord by approaching him humbly, offering him a seat, worshipping him with excellent paraphernalia, bathing and massaging his feet, giving him pan to chew, fanning him, anointing him with fragrant sandalwood paste, adorning him with flower garlands, dressing his hair, arranging his bed, bathing him, and presenting him with various gifts. So they were doing all the services for him. It's amazing. Srila Swami explains that Shukdev Goswami is so eager to describe these glorious pastimes of the Lord with his queens that he has repeated these verses. That is, text 5 of this chapter is almost identical with text 44 of the 59th chapter in this canto, and text 6 is identical with text 45 of that chapter. Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur explains that the term Varaharana, excellent offerings, indicates that the queens offered the Lord palmfuls of flowers, Pushpanjali, and palmfuls of jewels, Ratnanjali. It's amazing the revelations all these acharyas have. Tasam yadash putranam Krishna strinam puroditaha ashto maheshyas tatputran pradyumna din grinami te. Among Lord Krishna's wives, each of whom had 10 sons, I previously mentioned 8 principal queens. I shall now recite for you the names of those 8 queens' sons, headed by Pradyumna. Charu Deshna Sudeshnascha Charu Dehascha Viryavan Sucharush Charu Guptascha Bhadra Charu Statapara Charu Chandro Vicharushcha Charushcha Dashma Hare Pradyumna Parmukha Jata Rukminyam Navama Pituhu. The first son of Queen Rukmini was Pradyumna, and also born of her were Charudeshna, Sudeshna, and the powerful Charudeha, along with Suchar, Charugupta, Bhadracharu, Charuchandra, Vicharu, and Charu, the 10th. None of these sons of Lord Hari was less than his father. Bhanu Subhanu Swarbhanu, Prabhanur Bhanu Manstatha, Chandra Bhanur Brihat Bhanur, Ati Bhanus Tathashtama, Shri Bhanu Pratibhanuscha, Satya Bhamatmaja Dasha, Samba Sumitra Purajit, Chatajit Sahasrajita, Vyayash Chitra Keshtuscha, Vasumandra Vid Kratuhu, Jambavatya Suta Yete, Sambadhyaha Pitri Sammataha. The 10 sons of Satyabhama were Bhanu, Subhanu, Swarbhanu, Prabhanu, Bhanuman, Chandrabhanu, Brihadbhanu, and Atibhanu, the 8th. Shri Bhanu and Pratibhanu, Samba, Sumitra, Purajit, Shatajit, Sahasrajit, Vijay, Chitraketu, Vasuman, Dravid, and Kratu were the sons of Jambati. These 10, headed by Samba, were their father's favorites. Srila Jiva Goswami translates the compound Pitri Sammata in this verse as highly regarded by their father. The word also indicates that these sons, like the others already mentioned, were regarded as being just like their glorious father, Lord Krishna. Veeraschandro Ashwasenascha Chitra Gurave Gavana Vrishaha Ama Shankur Vasu Shriman Kuntir Nagina Jite Sutaha. The sons of Nagnajiti were Veera, Chandra, Ashwasen, Chitragu, Vegavan, Vrish, Am, Shanku, Vasu, and the opulent Kunti. Shuta Kavira Vrisho Veera, Subahur Bhadra, Ekala, Shantir Darshaha Purnamasa, Kalindya Somako Varaha. Shuddha Kavi Vrish Veer Subahu Bhadra Shanti Darsha and Purnamash were the sons of Kalindi. Her youngest son was Somak. Praghosho Gatravan Simho Bala Prabal Urdhaga Madhya Putra Mahashakti Saha Ojo Aparajitaha. Madra's sons were Praghosha Gatravan Simha Bala Prabal Urdhag Mahashakti Saha Oja and Aparajita. Madra is also known as Lakshmana. So Lakshmana, another queen of Krishna. Vriko Harsho Anilo Gridhro Vardhano Nad Evacha Mahan Sapavano Vahanir Mitra Vindat Majakshudhi. Mitra Vinda's sons were Vrik, Harsh, Anil, Gridhra, Vardhan, Unnad, Mahansha, Pavan, Vahani, and Shuddhi. Sangamajit Brihat Sena, Shura Praharano Arjit, Jaya Subhadro Bhatraya, Vam Ayushcha Satyaka. Sangramjit, Brihat Sena, Shura, Praharan, Arijit, Jaya, and Subhadra were the sons of Bhadra, together with Vam, Ayur, and Satyak. Dipti Mas Tamrit Taptagya Rohenya Stanaya Hare Pradyumna Cha Niruddho Abhuda Rukmabatyam Mahabala Putryam tu Rukmino Rajan Namna Bhojakate Pure. Diptiman, Tamritapt, and others were the sons of Lord Krishna and Rohini. Lord Krishna's son Pradyumna fathered the greatly powerful Anirudh in the womb of Rukmavati, the daughter of Rukmi. O son, this took place while they were living in the city of Bhojakat. Somehow, I don't know why it is said Rohini here. It says in the shloka, so I'm not sure why it is like that. It says Rukmanya, Rukmini, but not Rohini. Well, I have to find out the mistake here. Lord Krishna's 8 principal queens are Rukmini, Satyabhama, Jamvati, Nagnajiti, Kalindi, Lakshmana, Mitravinda, and Bhadra. Having mentioned all their sons, Shukdev Goswami now refers to the sons of other 16,100 queens. Okay. By mentioning the 2 principal sons of Queen Rohini, the foremost of the remaining queens. So this Rohini is not mother of Balramji, but the principal queen of all those 16,100 queens. Etesham putru pautrascha babuvu kotisho nripa matra Krishna jatinam sahasranisha shodasha. My dear king, the sons and grandsons of Lord Krishna's children numbered in tens of millions. 16,000 mothers gave rise to this dynasty. So there was something mentioned in the previous verse, and Parikshit Maharaj got alarmed. What is this happening? Shri Raja Vacha Katham Rukmi Ariputraya Prada Duhitaram Yudhi Krishnena Paribhutastam Hantum Randharam Pratikshate Etadakyahi Me Vidvan Dvishor Vaivahikam Mitha. King Parikshit said, how could Rukmi give his daughter to his enemy's son? So Rukmi, who was brother of Rukmini, his daughter married the son of Krishna. Although they are relatives, but the Gotra is different. So that's why the marriage could take place. After all, Rukmi had been defeated by Lord Krishna in the battle and was waiting for an opportunity to kill him. Please explain this to me, O learned one, how these 2 inimical parties became united through marriage. Anagatam atitam cha vartamanam atindriyam viprakrishtam vyavihtam samyak pashyanti yogina. Mystic yogis can perfectly see that which has not happened, as well as things in the past or present, beyond the senses, remote or blocked by physical obstacles. Here King Parikshit encourages Shukdev Goswami to explain why Rukmi gave his daughter to Lord Krishna's son Pradyumna. The king stresses that since great yogis like Shukdev Goswami know everything, the sage must also know this and should explain it to the anxious king. Shri Shukuvacha, Vritaha Swayamvare Sakshad Anango Angiyutastaya Ragya Sameta Nirjitya Jahare Karatho Yudhi. Shri Shukdev Goswami said, at her Swayamvar ceremony, Rukmavati, daughter of Rukmi, herself chose Pradyumna, who was a re-embodiment of Cupid. Then, although he fought alone on a single chariot, Pradyumna defeated the assembled kings in battle and took her away. Yadapi anusmaran varam Rukmi Krishnavamanitaha Vyatara Bhagi Neyaya Sutam Purvan Sasupriyam. Though Rukmi always remembered his enmity towards Lord Krishna, who had insulted him, in order to please his sister, he sanctioned his daughter's marriage to his nephew. The answer to King Parikshit's question is given here. Ultimately, Rukmi approved his daughter's marriage to Pradyumna in order to please his sister, Rukmini. So Pradyumna is son of Rukmini, and the daughter of Rukmi was Rukmavati, and they got married. Rukminyastanayam rajan kritavarma suto bali upayeme vishalakshim kanyam charumatim kila. O King Bali, the son of Kritvarma, married Rukmini's young daughter, large-eyed Charumati. Srila Sridhar Swami explains that each of Lord's queens, so they had 10 sons and 1 daughter, all of the queens. And that this mention of Charumati's marriage is an indirect reference to the marriages of all these princesses. So Kritvarma, who is in Dwarka, so his son married the daughter of Rukmini, whose name was Charumati. Dohitriyaya Aniruddhaya Pautrim Rukmya Dadadhare Rochanam Badhvero Api Swasu Priya Chikirshaya Janam Dharmam Tadyonam Sneh Pashanubandhana. Rukmi gave his granddaughter Rochana to his daughter's son Aniruddha. Despite Rukmi's relentless feud with Lord Hari. Although Rukmi considered this marriage irreligious, he wanted to please his sister, bound as he was by the ropes of affection. To his daughter's son, it should be sister's son, Aniruddha. Aniruddha was son of Krishna. Let's see, how it is explained. Srila Sridhar Swami explains that according to worldly standards, one should not give one's beloved granddaughter to the grandson of one's bitter enemy. Thus, we find the following injunction. One should not eat an enemy's food or feed an enemy. There is also the following prohibition. One should not execute religious injunctions if they will obstruct one's journey to heaven, or if they are odious to human society, means not beneficial. It should be pointed out here that Lord Krishna is not really the enemy of anyone. As the Lord says in Bhagavad Gita, Suridam Sarva Bhutana. One achieves peace by understanding that I am the well-wishing friend of every living being. Although Lord Krishna is everyone's friend, Rukmi could not appreciate this fact and considered Lord Krishna his enemy. Still, out of affection for his sister, he gave his granddaughter to Aniruddha. Finally, we should note that contrary to the prohibition quoted above, one may not give up the basic principles of spiritual life merely because such principles are unpopular with people in general. So ultimately, the principle is to please Krishna. That's the basic principle. But Rukmi is doing all this just to keep his sister happy. So this relationship between brother and sister is very, very special. तस्मिन्नभ्युदये राजन् रुक्मिणी रामकेशवो पुरं भोजकटं जग्मुः सांब प्रद्युम्नकादय. On the joyous occasion of that marriage, O king, Queen Rukmini, Lord Balram, Lord Krishna, and several of the Lord's sons, headed by Samba and Pradyumna, went to the city of Bhojkat. So Bhojkat was where Rukmi was living, and he was ruling that city. तस्मिन् निवृत्त उद्वाहे कालिंग प्रमुख नृपः दृप्तास्ते रुक्मिणं प्रोचुर बलम अक्षर विनिर्जय अनक्षज्ञो ह्यहं राजन् अपि तद्व्यसनं महत् इति उक्तो बलम् आहूय तेनाक्षर रुक्मि अदीव्यत. After the wedding, a group of arrogant kings, headed by the king of Kalinga, told Rukmi, "You should defeat Balram at dice. He's not expert at dice, king, but still he is quite addicted to it." Thus advised, Rukmi challenged Balram and began a gambling match with him. So after marriage was over. So they invited Balramji for the game of dice. They didn't invite Krishna. They said, "Oh, Balramji doesn't know how to play, but he likes to play." Shatam sahasram ayutam ramas tatra dade panam tam tu rukmi ajaya tatra kalinga prahasad valam dantan sandarshayan uchchara namrishtad dhalayudha. In that match, Lord Balram first accepted a wager of 100 coins, then 1,000, then 10,000. Rukmi won this first round, and the king of Kalinga laughed loudly at Lord Balram, showing all his teeth. Lord Balram could not tolerate this. Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur explains that the wagers consisted of gold coins. Lord Balram inwardly became quite angry when he saw the gross offense of the king of Kalinga. So he was laughing at Balramji because Balramji lost. ततो लक्ष्यम रुक्म्यग्रहात् गलहम तत्रा जयद्वलः जित्वानहम इति याह Rukmi कैतवम आश्रितः. Next, Rukmi accepted a bet of 100,000 coins, which Lord Balram won, but Rukmi tried to cheat, declaring, "I'm the winner." So this gambling, they're always cheating going on. Manyanakshabitah Shriman Samudra eva parvani jatya runakshu atirusha nira buddham galham adade. Shaking with anger like the ocean on the full moon day, handsome Lord Balram, his naturally reddish eyes even redder in his fury, accepted a wager of 100 million gold coins. Wow. Tam chapi jitvan ramo dharmena chalamashvita Rukmi jitam mayatreme vadantu prashnika iti. Lord Balram fairly won this wager also, but Rukmi again resorted to cheating and declared, "I have won. Let these witnesses here say what they saw." Rukmi undoubtedly had his friends in mind when he called for the witnesses to speak, but even as his witnesses prepared to aid their cheating friend, a wonderful event took place as described in the next verse. Tada bravinna bhovani balenev jitoglaha dharmato vachane neva Rukmi vadati vemrisha. Just then a voice from the sky declared, "Balram has fairly won this wager. Rukmi is surely lying." So demigods were watching and they took side of Balramji. Oh, they told the truth actually. Tamna dritya vedarbho dushta rajanya chodita sankarshanam parihasan babhashe kala chodita. Urged on by the wicked kings, Rukmi ignored the divine voice. In fact, destiny itself was urging Rukmi on, and thus he ridiculed Lord Balram as follows. So he forgot Balram was the one who saved his life when Krishna was about to kill him, and Krishna insulted him when Krishna kidnapped Rukmini. But he forgot all this. Navakshako vidayuhyam gopala vanagochara akshar divayanti rajano baneshana bhavadrisha. Rukmi said, "You cowherds who wander about the forest know nothing about dice. Playing with dice and sporting with arrows are only for the kings, not for the likes of you. So that is insulting. Rukmina vam adhikshipto rajabhishchopahasita krudha parigham udyamya jagne tam nirimna sansadi. Thus insulted by Rukmi and ridiculed by the kings, Lord Balram was provoked to anger. In the midst of the auspicious wedding assembly, he raised his club and struck Rukmi dead. So this is the picture in the background. He just picked up his club and just hit Rukmi and killed him. And it was middle of the wedding assembly. Kalingarajam tarasa grihitva dashme pade dantan patiyat krudho yo ahasad vivriter dvija. The king of Kalinga, who had laughed at Lord Balram and showed his teeth, tried to run away. But the furious Lord quickly seized him on his 10th step and knocked out all his teeth. So he was laughing at Balramji. Balramji took out all his teeth. Anya nirvina bahuru shiraso rudhirokshita rajano dudruva vrita balena parikhartita. Tormented by Lord Balram's club, the other kings fled in fear, their arms, thighs, and heads broken and their bodies drenched in blood. So this is Balramji. Nihate Rukmini Shyale, Nabravit Sadva Sadhuva, Rukmini Balyo Rajan Sne Bhanga Bhayadhari. When his brother-in-law Rukmi was slain, Lord Krishna neither applauded nor protested. O king, for he feared jeopardizing his affectionate ties with either Rukmini or Balram. So Krishna just stood neutral. Tato aniruddham sahasureya varam ratham samaropya yayu kushastlin ramadev bhojakata dadasha siddha akhilartha madhusudanashraya. Then the descendants of Dashara, headed by Lord Balram, seated Anirudh and his bride on a fine chariot and set off for from Bhojkat for Dwarka. Having taken shelter of Lord Madhusudan, they had fulfilled all their purposes. So even though Rukmini was very dear to all the Dasharas, her brother Rukmi had constantly opposed and insulted Krishna since Rukmini's wedding. The Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur explains, the associates of Lord Krishna could hardly lament Rukmi's sudden demise. So thus ends the purpose to 10th canto, 61st chapter of Bhagavatam, entitled Lord Balram Slays Rukmi. So we'll stop here. See anybody has any questions or comments? Okay, so we'll stop here. You all have a safe and wonderful day. Hare Krishna. Jai Shri Ram.